She was hyperventilating. She was breathing so shallowly and so quickly that I was sure she was going to pass out. I didn't know what was going on. I mean, one minute we were all sitting in the classroom having a common conversation, and all of a sudden she's standing, breathing heavily, and turning white, pale, and I knew that something was going on. As I approached her, I realized she was in the middle of a terrible anxiety attack. Anxiety, depression, and stress seem to be the words that best describe the state of our teens today. Why is that? And how can we help them? That's what we'll discuss in today's episode of Understanding Teens. Hi, I'm Marcia Amaro, and I'm here to equip you with the tools, the strategies, and the knowledge you need to design families and lives that are set for success. Now, we are in the middle of our Understanding Teens series, and today I want to dive straight into anxiety, depression, and stress, because those, like I said before, seem to be the common adjectives that are being used by teens themselves and by the people around them to describe the common state of our teens. Now, before I dive into what I want to share with you today, I want to be clear. I am not a therapist. I am not a clinician. The things that I am going to share with you come from my experiences in being an educator of teens and from conversations with parents and families and from my research that is based on science and psychology. So nothing I am about to say is meant to replace going and seeking professional help from a mental health specialist, and nothing I am about to say is meant to take away the proper diagnosis from a doctor. Everything we're about to discuss are just starting steps to help us understand what is going on and how we might actually aid in easing some of this process. If we stop for a minute to think about what is different between our generation being teens and this generation, and I might be a generation removed from some of the parents that are watching this, but if we stop to think about even 15, 20 years ago, what was different then from now? Let's think about some of the things that might be adding to the sense of anxiety, to this sense of I'm not enough, to the stress, and to what might eventually be leading some of our teens to depression. Now again, none of this is meant to take away the chemical and the medical reasons why all of this might be happening, but this overwhelming sense that most of our youth is anxious, depressed, and overwhelmed has to be coming from somewhere, right? If we really stop to think about it, think about the added pressure that these kids are under. High stakes testing. Everything in school seems to be high stakes anymore. The pressure to perform at a certain level, right? You add to that the pressure of social media. No longer are they just comparing themselves to the kid next door or to the people sitting next to them in classrooms. Now they're comparing themselves to the entire world, and not just to the world, but to the image that people want to present in social media about themselves. We all know that we don't always present our negative side on social media, right? We tend to exaggerate the good and underplay the bad most of the time. So they're looking at all these images, all these influencers, all these YouTubers, all these people on social media that seem to be perfect, that seem to have it all together, that seem to be beautiful all the time, perfectly put together, not a blemish in sight, and they think that they need to be like that 24/7. So all of that increases pressure. Plus, I don't know about you, but I remember being about 10 or 12 years old, between 10 and 12, I don't remember the exact age, but I remember hearing someone mentioning something, some conversations in the distance about the world coming to an end. And I, for the first time in my life, realized that there were all these things going on in the world, and the weight of it really put a strain on me. It took a while for me to snap out of that feeling of, oh my gosh, the world is ending. What am I going to do? My life is over and I'm only 10 or 12, right? But these kids today are exposed to so much earlier than we were. They have an overexposure to news and information and topics that they're not developmentally and mentally ready for yet, but that are being thrown their way by media, by news, by conversations that we're having around them. And all of these things are creating this pressure, are creating this sense of overwhelm and overload that they're not really ready to tackle. So the result for a lot of our kids is an increased level of anxiety and stress, this pressure to perform, that when they feel they don't reach or they don't achieve that level that they think they should be at, leads to feelings of depression and of low self-worth. So all of these things combined create the state that we're in. And that is something that we as adults need to become more aware of, because when our kids say, oh, I'm stressed, we tend to downplay it. Oh, I'm anxious. We tend to not really believe anxiety in the way that they are feeling it. So it's important to know that these feelings, these sensations, these emotions that they're expressing are real, and we need to understand some of where they're coming from. Something else that adds to this feeling of anxiety and stress and depression is the fact that our system is designed to overemphasize their areas of weakness. What do I mean by that? If you think about the school system, you either get things right or you get things wrong. And when you get things wrong, they try to move you towards being able to get them right. Nothing wrong with that, except for when there's so much pressure to be good at certain things that you might not be all that great at, right? The system has determined that there are certain things that everybody should be good at. Everybody should be good at math, everybody should be good at reading, everybody should be good at writing. But what if you're not? What if that is an area that is outside your circle of unique ability? See, all of us live in this circle. Imagine concentric circles, right? The one on the outside, the bigger circle, are all the things that we are awful at, all the things that we can't do well. If we tried really, really hard, we might be able to pull something off in that area, but we're really not good at it. Then the circle inside of that are things that we're okay at, but we won't excel at them. Then there's a smaller circle of things that we can, with practice and with time, be good at and excel at. But then in the center, there's a really small circle of something that Dean Graziosi calls your unique ability or your superpower, right? And that little circle in the middle is the area in which we truly excel, the things that we do better than most, the things in which we can be in the zone, be impassioned, and do really, really well. Well, what happens is this focus on everybody has to be good on the same things forces a lot of us to try to be good and really excel at things that are on those outer circles where we are not all that great at. And when we don't reach those levels, it makes us feel like we're less than. Right? So that focus on trying to strengthen weaknesses all the time, instead of adding to that and focusing more on solidifying and strengthening their areas of unique ability and power, also, in my opinion, adds a lot to that sense of depression and of not being good enough and the overwhelm and the anxiety that our teens are feeling. So what can we do? How can we start helping them move away from all this anxiety and overwhelm and into spaces where they feel more comfortable with themselves, with their performance, and with the world? Well, the first thing, and if you've been following me, you know that this is the core of most everything that I discuss and most everything that I present to you, is to have key conversations about what might be going on, right? We need to start shifting our conversations from, okay, what did you get on the test? To, okay, what went well when you took this test? Focus on the values that might be promoted. Focus on the idea that that they strived, that they tried, that they worked hard. Focus on the effort that they put on there. Focus on talking about things that they're passionate about. Have conversations about their strengths and how they might be able to maybe use some of their strengths to help lessen the impact of some of their weaknesses, right? I have plenty of students that are really musically inclined. I try to help them use music to help them learn content that might not be as wonderful or as easily accessible for them. So think about how can they use their strengths to help support those areas of weakness so that they no longer feel so overwhelmed by it. And try as much as possible to reinforce those strengths in conversations. So sit down and talk to your kids and ask them honestly and openly, what are the subjects that are hardest for you? Why do you think that is? What are the subjects that come easily to you, and why do you think that is? What do you think you can do to feel less stressed and less overwhelmed? What are some goals that we can set that will help you use your areas of strength to help reinforce your areas of weakness? Which leads me to the second thing that we should do, which is redefine success for our kids. Michelle Borba has a great TED Talk in which she talks about empathy and the importance of empathy. And one of the things that she mentions is that we have developed a very narrow definition of what success looks like that is based on grades and school performance. Let's be honest and let's be real here. How many people have you met in the past, or have you met anyone in the past that has performed poorly in school but has gone on to have a great, amazing, successful life as an adult? Have you ever met someone who gets straight A's and actually does amazing at school, but then in life struggles and cannot seem to find their bearings in the real world? I know I have. So let's be honest here. School is important and grades are excellent, but they are not the end-all be-all. They don't really define who we are and who we become. So if we start to look for other ways to define success within our family, within our structure, we can start moving our kids away from that anxiety. You have no idea how many kids I've heard say to me, if I get less than an A, my mom or my dad will kill me. And I know they don't mean that literally, but they do feel that pressure to get straight A's, even in subject areas that first might not be their strength, and second might have nothing or very little to do with their goals in the future. So let's stop for a minute and let's think, okay, what is it that you want to accomplish in life? What is it that you think you might want to do in the future? How can we define success today so that it helps move you closer to that goal that you have for the future? Earl Nightingale had what I consider to be the best definition of success. And he said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Progressive realization. See, according to that definition, as long as you're working towards a worthy goal, you're being successful. So it's about progress, not perfection. It's about taking daily steps. It's about not sitting down and being comfortable with less than what you can offer, but knowing that we all have limitations and we all have areas in which we excel and areas which are not our passion, areas which, of course, if we work at them, we can always grow them. And I do believe in a growth mindset where you can work to improve anything. But let's be honest here. Do we really want to improve every area of our lives? For me, for example, I'm not sports minded or sports inclined. So if you try to push me to be athletic, I'm going to resist. Not that I couldn't get better. I could. But do I want to? Is that something that brings me passion? Is that something that utilizes my strengths in a way that makes me feel productive and like I have meaning? So let's try to redefine within our nucleus, within our family, what success will look like for us and make it something that stretches us, but that at the same time feels accessible and worthwhile as we move towards our ultimate goals. Now, as I said, we are in the middle of an Understanding Teens series that includes 6 videos. This is video number 4. If you haven't watched the previous videos, go ahead and look for them in my playlists and make sure that you are subscribing so you don't miss a single video in the series. And also, make sure that you're subscribing because I come on here every Monday and Wednesday to share with you the tools and the strategies that you need to design families and lives that are set for success. let's continue on to our last suggestion. Lastly, and I kind of hinted at this when I talked about the conversations that we should be having to try and lessen the overwhelm, but let's look at each person's within our family, each person's area of strength, their unique ability, and let's find ways in which we can cultivate and empower them and encourage them to build up those areas of passion and unique ability. So let's say that you have a child, like I've had many in my many years of dealing with teens, that are musically or artistically inclined. Why don't we promote that? We know, and we are becoming more and more aware each day of the fact that that ability to innovate, that ability to be creative and to think beyond and outside of the established limits are what are going to take our society and our world to the next level, right? If it weren't for those people that think outside the box, for those people that dare to challenge the status quo a little bit and look for new ways to use their abilities, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have this technology that is allowing us to have a conversation right now, and we wouldn't have a lot of the advancements that we do love and share. So how can we look at our kids and our own unique abilities and our areas of passion, those areas where we feel like we're in the zone, and how can we promote them? How can we create spaces where they can hone them in and make them better? How can we give them opportunities to become better, stronger, and more agile in those areas? How can we let them know that what they're passionate about is not just important to us, but important to the world? So hopefully this conversation has helped you understand a little bit better where some of the anxiety, stress, and depression that our kids are experiencing might be coming from, and some of the things that we can start doing to help lessen those feelings of overwhelm. Again, I am not a clinician, and I am not suggesting by any means that there aren't medical issues that could be involved. In fact, if your teen or yourself experiences these feelings on a very consistent basis, if it gets to the point where it affects their eating habits or their ability to perform or even get out of bed, please seek help. But in the meantime, and for everybody else that is not at that level, we can start trying some of these conversations and some of these suggestions to see if we can help lessen the load and promote in our teens a sense of worth and a sense of that they can do and that they're bringing something unique to the world without overloading or overwhelming them. Again, I am Marcy Amaro, and I hope you're finding value in this series. If you have, please share it with someone and comment below. What do you think? Have you experienced some of these feelings? Is there anything I might be missing that might be adding to the stress and anxiety that our teens and our kids are feeling and experiencing? I look forward to reading your comments, and I will see you on the next video.